390 Wagon Master here. Tonight on the bench, I have Darren's Cobra 142 GTL. This is one of Needlebender 99/UDX 99's radios, and this radio was not working on lower sideband. Before I get into that though, in case you're not familiar with the Cobra 142 GTLs, let's go over some of the features and the design of this radio. This is kind of, this is, to me, this is the little brother of the Cobra 2000. Styling is pretty close to the same. I do like the forward firing speaker in here. Love the dual meters. This is President Madison style looking meters here. Digital channel selector, separate receive and transmit indicators. I really like that. This has volume, squelch, dynamic or mic gain, RF gain, SWR calibrate, the voice lock, which is the clarifier, the mode switch, switches between lower AM and upper sideband. We have the separate noise blanker ANL switch, so we can turn it off and just run it wide open, or with the ANL only, an ANL noise blanker combo. Extremely effective ANL noise blanker in this one. CBPA, SWR, calibrate and reflected, and then percentage of modulation shows up on that meter. This is the 5-wire mic version of this radio. There was a 4-wire version as well in the early models. This is a single conversion super het front end on this. So that's kind of the downfall on this. The front end on this, actually, let me start over. The Cobra 142 GTL, the President Washington, and the Radio Shack TRC 490 are all the same radios. The board, okay? So it's not a bad rig. The problem is they are susceptible to bleed over. And it takes a lot to bleed it to get into one of these, but once it does, it's pretty annoying. And what I'm talking about is, like today, for instance, the Super Bowl was running really, really hard, and I was on lower 38, and I'm getting scratching and stuff, and sure enough, you spin around the dial real quick, and there they are on the Super Bowl. Now, this is a double-edged sword here, because the 142 being a single conversion, and then those guys running massive amounts of power and dirty radios for the most part will just tear a radio like this up. Some people may or may not notice it. It just kind of depends on what you've been exposed to in the past as far as radios go. But anyway, she's a little susceptible to bleed over. The audio quality of this radio is exceptional. Everybody's voice sounds nice, natural, and clean with this forward-firing speaker. It just comes right out at you. I love that. I like the dual meter setup. I just like the whole thing visually. Now, if I was shopping for a backup radio, or maybe a radio for the shop or for the RV, this would be a great radio. If you can find a 142 in good cosmetic shape, it might be worth picking up and playing around with. Okay, now the reason why I have this, lower sideband did not work. And sometimes we can just luck out and it'll just be the mode switch. So what I did when we first looked at this, sorry about that lighting, I went and tried lower sideband, nothing, flipped over to AM, bunch of noise, and then from AM to upper sideband, this mode switch here was super, super dirty. So I'm like, okay, well, hopefully we'll luck out. So I drilled a hole in this, because these are a sealed switch, and sprayed some CRC QD electronic cleaner in here. And you've seen that in other videos that I've done. And I'm at a D5, so I used some Deoxit Gold G5 lubricant fader cleaner, actually, and restore, I think is what they call it, and fix this problem with the noisy switch. It's 100%. However, lower sideband still did not work. So while I was messing around with this, I'm kind of looking around inside the radio, and I'm noticing a lot of the dreaded Uniden death glue. There's a chunk of it right there. Now, this stuff can really do a lot of damage to a radio in two ways. A, it's conductive, and B, it's destructive, meaning it likes to eat up parts. It gets corrosive. And the problem was, after a little bit of troubleshooting, I found that it ate one of the legs off on this crystal that's in the lower sideband circuit. So anyway, I looked through my bins. I did not have one, and I really wanted two because I wanted a match set, right? I mean, these are different frequencies, but I'd like the same batch. I don't want a new one and an old one. I want them as close as I can. So on the community on this channel, I just put the little word out that I needed some crystals, and Mr. Seaweed, UDX 534 up in Salem, Oregon, came to the rescue. He sent me a couple crystals, match set, and well, okay, they came out of the same radio. And anyway, so I put those in there, and voila, we have lower sideband. So all that worked out really good. So then the next task was to start picking on the Uniden death glue. So I go through here and pick out the death glue. Had to pull some components out. Pulled out, I believe it was L17 in there somewhere, and that was close, but it's savable. So yeah. Anyway, we just cleaned it up. I tried to figure out what these guys were doing. There was somebody in here doing some mods. They were doing some weird, funky solder work and stuff in here. And when whoever modified the clarifier, unlocked the clarifier, I don't know if they used like a solder gun or something, but it was pretty shag nasty work. So we cleaned all that up and did a full alignment, receive, transmit, PLL, rebias the driver, and the final, those were way up high. Somebody got into the TVI trap here. So what I just did is I just kind of did the old SDR thing, and I feed it in through here. And what I do is I just look for harmonics, and then I adjust this until it doesn't show up on my SDR anymore. Kind of a hokey way to do it, but it's a lot better than how this was, because we're putting out actual wattage in the CB band. So that's a good way to go. Anyway, somebody in there doing a little kitchen CB modification there, kitchen table CB mods. But that's okay. We've all done that. Yeah, you have. Anyway, so there you go. She's all up and running. Man, it runs beautiful. Really super nice. I did not opt to recap the whole thing. However, I pulled some 10-volt caps out and replaced some caps that are known to give problems. So I just kind of did that as some preventive maintenance, I guess you could say. Maybe at some point Darren will want this recap. For right now, she's running real good, real nice. So again, the Cobra 142 GTL. It's a pretty nice radio. Give it a shot. If you find one of these, snag it and put it up against your Washington. I think you'll be surprised. Anyway, okay, so questions or comments, please leave those down below. And thanks for watching.